Ladies and gents, welcome to CG Reaction, and this is the wild world of Inuit folklore by the channel SamONella Academy. Inuits, I think that's Arctic people, right? You know, the Greenland, I think the Greenland native people, I don't know, north of Canada probably. So yeah, Inuits are. I remember something like, you know, they live in this Eskimo huts and things like that. They used to do that in the past. But yeah, Eskimos, I think, is the word that, you know, people like, you know, Europeans gave them. Their real name they go by is Inuit. So whenever somebody calls them Eskimos, it's like, you know, calling Native Americans like Indians. I mean, it's not really Indians. They just mistaken them for Indians, that kind of thing. And I remember, hearing about that they used to go out and hunt whales, gigantic whales with these big ships. What they do is they go there, strike them with something, and then attach some kind of a seal skinned balloon, so the whale doesn't just sink its down, and they hit the whale multiple times, and then just because of the a seal skin balloon, whale comes on top, and they drag the whale to the ground, and then basically eat them. That's really, I don't know, that's really creative. Let's just say they thought, we're gonna hit the whale's gonna sink to the bottom. If it dies, how are we gonna get it out? So they thought, let's attach balloons to it. That is ridiculous. That's awesome. And also remember hearing about in some show, like, there was a genocide level of things that Canadians did to them. Some story about, Inuit people just, walking around. The Canadians just comes, take one of the children, like they're taking a baby or something, carrying them in their arm, and just go away someplace else. Just took the kids like they're grocery shopping or something. So that's really effed up. There are lots of Inuit people in Canada who has this story. Old people, like they were just carried over by some Canadian, and that's it. That's the last they saw of their family, and they're alive right now. So that is wild to think about. Like people just did that. Yeah, Inuit people, they're just groceries, just picked them up and left, I guess. That's just effed up when you think about it. So yeah, remember people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe, so I know which type of videos to react to more, and you'll be supporting my channel, I guess. I've reacted to quite a few, almost all of the Sam's videos by now. I've created a playlist for it, check the cards for it. Check out the link in the description with all of my videos. Who knows, you'll maybe like some other subject I reacted to. And yeah, let's watch this one.
Hey kids, from clubbing seals to inventing new compound nouns for snow, nobody knows how to kick it quite like the Inuit. Of course, if you're a close-minded tree dweller like me, you might initially think that they can't be that good at storytelling, given that they only know about like 6 things. But that's not true. They've actually got an incredibly complex and fascinating oral tradition. You could ask one about it, there's plenty of these guys around today, but they've got Jesus and microwaves and shit, and that's boring. We want to talk about the stuff from before missionaries came and sent their miserable way of life to a farm upstate. So instead, let a 20-year-old college kid who's never lived outside of Delaware tell you all about it. Obvious disclaimer, Inuits are super diverse. Calling a caribou Inuit a copper Inuit is like calling a copper caribou a caribou caribou. Sure, they both look the same from far away, but when a thunderstorm hits, you better know which one to hide under. As such, while most of the following can be applied in broad terms to most Inuits, the little details come from a variety of subcultures that don't necessarily represent the whole. Got it? Swank. Now, a lot of the world's faiths are centered around bringing people together and inspiring them with stories and images of the divine, so as to give them a wider sense of purpose here on Earth. That's all well and good, but that whole search for greater—
Not all stories, let's be honest. Some of them are just fear-based stories too, so people just stay in line.
Meaning thing only really comes into play once your original purpose of making sure you don't die is pretty much figured out. Not so for the Inuit. You see, it ain't so easy living in a place where plants can't grow and being naked for an hour means certain death. As such, their beliefs were a little more practical, being more so geared towards fostering the paranoid levels of fear required to survive in such a hostile environment. For example, the Inuit believed that everyone has a sort of life force or soul, what they called anirnik, and like plenty of religions, they believed it lived on after death and could meddle in the world of mortals. But while most cultures regard animals as being spiritually inferior meat puppets, to the Inuits, a creature's soul is just as powerful and vengeful as that of a person. And like I said, up there in the Arctic, not much greenery in the scenery, so
yeah, so basically ghost thing is just people's denial of accepting that once you die, that's it. I mean, people are obviously understandable, but they can't wrap their mind around it. I mean, do you remember how you were before you were born? No, you don't remember the time, so you'll know nothing after you die. It's pretty simple in that sense, but it's still scary. So people can't wrap their mind around. So they create this is a spirit. So does animals have spirit? Yeah, why the hell not? They're alive too, so fine, they have spirits too. So it's just getting stupider from there.
So they basically had no choice but to devour nothing but souls every single day. And wouldn't you know it, souls don't much care for getting ate. So the Inuit made sure to follow a complex set of guidelines on how to placate their prey in the afterlife, lest the pissed off ghost of that Arctic tern whispers sweet nothings into a polar bear's ears and turns your whole village into a big Japanese flag by sunrise. Here's a few. If you kill something, make sure you eat it all. Just as an American who doesn't clean his plate doesn't get dessert, an Inuit who doesn't eat all his walrus doesn't get any more walrus. Ever.
This is ridiculous. So they're like, there are ghosts. Obviously, animals have ghosts. They could screw with us. So feels like somebody who has OCD and just coming. Remember the people who have OCD have this kind of ritual kind of things that in their mind. Doing this ritual means that nothing bad will happen or something like that. This seems like that. There are ghosts. Ghosts might affect us. So they just make up shit like doing this, like eating the whole body, aligning themselves somehow, doing some kind of ritual, make sure they won't hurt us. Why? Because I just thought of it. That's why. This is weird. Yeah, that is also true in in Christian household. There is thing like don't waste your food. If you waste it, they just put it in fridge or something. You have to eat it at the evening too or something like that. I heard about it somewhere.
Till they starve. If you kill a polar bear, make sure to point its head towards the direction it came from so it can find its way home more easily. If you pull a seal out of the water, give him some fresh water so he's not thirsty when you bash his brain in. Also, its spirit lives.
the way he's like somebody just walked up there, pulled a seal out of the water, like just pulling something like with the hand and just feeding the water, then bashing its brain out. That's just effed up.
Lives in its bladder, so make sure to hold on to it until the yearly bladder festival, where everyone gets together, blows up their bladders like balloons, and throws them out to sea so they can reincarnate into new seals. These taboos aren't all just about
Wait a
hunting.
second. Like I said at the beginning of the video, they do that with seal skin balloons to make sure the veil doesn't just sinks down. I think that's how they do it. They do it as a ritual too. Huh.
Though. For some reason there's a load of them about pregnancy. Don't make fun of people's facial features or else the baby will have the same features. Don't walk backwards or else the baby will come out backwards. Dangerous.
This
Face
is
your
all
mid towards
silly
a
to me.
doorway or it'll come out sideways. Also dangerous. Don't wrap rope around your hand or it'll come out with the umbilical cord around its neck. Extremely dangerous. Don't drink directly from a soup bowl or it'll come out with dark skin. Not touching that one. Don't put a bowl on your head or else it'll be wearing the placenta like a hat. Too hilarious. And the list goes on. Central to the consequence.
I'm not gonna lie, that like I said, that all seems so OCD to me. When people with OCD comes up with these things, these rituals, so they do that so nothing bad happens. This seems like that to me.
Of breaking a lot of these rules is the being known as Sedna. The story behind Sedna varies pretty wildly between different groups of Inuits, but here's the gist of it. She was once a young girl who pissed everyone off, either by being annoying or eating too much food or rejecting an arranged marriage or marrying a dog for some reason. So her father throws her out of a kayak, and when she tries to get back in, he chops off all her fingers. The sea goddess sees this, furrows her long floppy sea.
Alright, I'm not gonna lie. I heard of the phrase and I kind of believe it. Like every urban story has some form of truth behind it. So I can't just wonder like somebody actually did that. I mean, somebody just took their daughter, throw in the river. When she tried to come up, they just how can you do that to your own daughter? That's just effed up, man.
Seaweed brow does a sassy snap and the girl turns into an immortal sea witch while her disembodied fingers turn into the first seals. And to this day, Sedna sits at the bottom of the ocean, growing new fingers which promptly fall off and turn into all the world's seal lions and narwhalruses. That is until someone goofs up in some small arbitrary fashion like, yo Sedna, bad news, I just caught a guy chewing a piece of blubber. What's wrong with that? Well, he wasn't looking north while he did it. Are you fucking kidding me? In his defense, he was standing right on the pole, so he literally couldn't look anywhere but south. He could have moved! That's it! No more fingy foods for 3 moons! Another fun creation myth is how the moon and sun—
Okay, so they hunt seals, alright? And then one day they just realize that there are no seals around, so they just come up with these stories like this is why it happens. So next 3 moons there won't be any seals, because for the 3 moons they didn't see any seal around. Okay.
son came to be. So long ago, there were these two siblings named Melina and Aningen. The two got along just fine as kids, but as the two got older, they were put into their respective genders' living areas and saw each other less and less. Then one day, Aningen got the feeling that his lower nose was in dire need of some Eskimo kisses. So that night, he snuck into the women's lodges, saw his sister, thought, I pick that one, and proceeded to do, unspeakable things, technically becoming his own Eskimo brother. But it was too dark at the time for Melina to tell what happened. The next night, Ningen's like,
I'll fucking do it again.
only this time, Melina smears soot all over his face. So later, she goes over to the men's lodges, and who has crap all over his face but her brother? This makes her so mad that she cuts off her own breasts with a knife,
the fuck?
puts them in a bowl, throws them at Ningen, and says, if you enjoy me so much, then here, eat 'em. Go ahead, eat my disembodied, quivering titties. She runs off into the night with a torch, and Ningen is really remorseful or horny or something, so he chases after her with his own torch, and they end up running so fast that they took off like a plane into the sky, and Melina became the sun while Ningen became the moon. Excuse me, Mrs. Elder, if the sun and moon didn't exist yet, how did he do that stuff at night when there was no night? Now, some details of the story are
This is why Catholics and Christians, invented punishment. Like, don't ask questions. That is true, man. If there was a sun and moon, first of all, how is anything alive? How did they see anything? Oh my god, this is so awesome. Now, why that story, man? When people come up with the stories, why the incest story right there? Was there a bigger issue back then that they had to create that story? Damn.
tied into real-world phenomena. Some say that Ningen tripped and messed up his torch, which is why the moon is so dim. And the moon cycles are because he gets really skinny from chasing after her for so long. And the new moon is when he goes away for a few days to hunt seals so he can fatten back up. But here's the kicker. Nobody ever explains what the whole lopping off her tits part was supposed to represent. That's entirely just creative liberty. Just like, yes, that's why the sun doesn't have tits. Probably for the best it doesn't, otherwise half the population will be blind by now, and worse, it's the half that makes up 85% of my viewer base. So you know what? Thanks for slicing and dicing them tea towels, Melina. I kinda owe you my career. But as for you, your eyes are valuable. You should treat them to something more substantial and informative. Like, say, a library of high-quality exclusive documentaries. Sponsor time. CuriosityStream was founded by...
Yeah, people, go to curiositystream.com/SamONella and support this channel. This channel is incredible. He stopped making video. That's the most saddest thing there can be about this. But yeah, these are great. I have never reacted to so many videos from one channel like I did of Sam's video. These are just so epic. So yeah, Inuit folklore, lots of these things just feels like OCD to me. If you do this, this happen. If you do that, this happen. If you do that, something bad won't happen. Like people just inventing shit. It's not just limited to Inuit folklore. Every other area's folklore has some things like that. But yeah. And that sun and the moon thing, why the incest story, and like he said, yeah, why cutting off that thing has anything to do with the story. None of this makes sense. Like somebody just came up with that shit. I guess the incest was so bad around some time that people came up with this story so nobody would do it. Who the hell knows? But yeah, I guess that was the Inuit folklore. Alright people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe and support this channel. And yeah, check out other reaction I did from SamONella and others. Like I created a playlist for it. Check out the cast, check out the link in the description. And yeah, I guess I'll see you next time.